Hey guys, it's Zekin, and welcome to this week's episode of Beryl Zoo. Today we're going to be working on the reptile house for the zoo. So pretty much last episode I said I was going to be making something big and nice, and so here we have it today. Well, actually, what I did is I actually made a first iteration of the whole reptile house. Then I was not really quite satisfied with the interior, so I just deleted everything and started over again. So if you wondering why I posted like 2 weeks later, and that's because I wasn't too satisfied with how it is, and so I wouldn't just want to be posting out content for you guys if it's not quality. And so I just went in, redid it, and revamped the whole thing, and now I'm very much happy with how it came out. It was pretty much inspired by the reptile house de Audrey or Days. I'm sure I probably butchered that name, but it's located in the Netherlands, and it's actually a house. Actually someone's house. Somebody actually started a hobby of keeping reptiles and stuff, and then eventually people started visiting, and as more and more people started donating and visiting, it became like he just transformed the whole house into like a zoo, into like a mini zoo kind of place where people like come in and sit down, look at reptiles, hold reptiles, just pretty much like an alligator, like a reptile center, but it's pretty much like a mini zoo in the neighborhood. So I really thought that was pretty cool. So it was pretty much inspired by the reptile house's industrial kind of modern-esque look. Pretty much it's dominated by a lot of black colors and a lot of woods and a lot of like sleek edges and straight lines. But here's the catch: this reptile house that I'm actually working on is pretty much curved because I wanted it to be like concentric around the climatron dome. So the way it's shaped is pretty much different from how the one at the reptile house is actually. So implementing that kind of design into what I'm doing right now was actually kind of a little uphill task, but I pretty much got that to work out well, and it came out very awesomely well. So pretty happy with how that came out. And so most of animals that make up zoos are pretty much reptiles and smaller animals, critters and stuff, because when zoos say like they have billions of species, most of them come from like reptile houses, the reptile house in the zoo. And so most of the reptile houses in the zoos are not really giving too much love because people like really want to see the big ticket animals like lions and everything. So you wouldn't bother to go inside, go and see a beetle over a lion. I'm sure you would want to see a lion before the beetle. So pretty much reptile houses are not really that popular in zoos. Well, they're popular, but people don't really it's not popular among like the general public. People who envision zoos, they think of like big animals like lions, like I said, zebras, giraffes, but not like the really small animals. And so reptile houses are kind of a way to let people know more about the little critters that live on the floors of the forest and everything, which actually pretty much make up the ecosystem as a whole in the world. So they're really important to the world and everything. So we should be cherishing them and letting people be educated about how they gain to the environment and how we can help them actually, because some of the numbers in the wild are actually going down, and it's kind of sad in a way, but if we put our hands together, we can actually make the world a better place. But enough of that. So this I'm going to be having a turtle habitat. Before, in the first iteration, I had a non-monitor exhibit, but because of the size limitations in the game, it was too big. So for this iteration, I kind of removed the non-monitor and then stuck with the turtle habitat because I thought the size requirements were pretty decent and it fit well with what I was going for. And so I just put that in the zoo now, and so that's what's going along with a lot of different kind of animals. So the layout for this reptile house is that it's gonna have 2 floors, one for the ground floor and one for the first floor. And it's going to be divided into two sections, the rainforest section and the desert section. And this is because this is mostly what I see in zoos, like it's kind of a storytelling kind of thing. Like they have different sections in the reptile house divided into like rainforest animals, like forest animals, and desert animals, temperate animals, and stuff like that. So I really thought that was a nice thing to do, so that people would know exactly where they're going in, what kind of animals to find in that specific area of the reptile house. So I pretty much was happy with how that actually turned out. And so one other thing I noticed is when I was building this whole place and everything, is that plants actually really have a great effect on your mood and how you feel about things. Like for example, I used it to my advantage, in which the front garden in front of the reptile house has this kind of dominating desert look to it. And so as you enter the reptile house, the first section you're going to be entering into is the desert section. So it makes sense to kind of push you into that kind of feeling of being hot and stuff like that. Because one thing I know is that, like, if you see a palm tree somewhere, you tend to feel a little bit hotter and more humid. The environment starts to feel a little more humid than if you would say see a tree or something. If you were to see a tree, you would feel a little more cooler and less humid and everything. So I don't know if you understand me, but pretty much that's the idea of how I played with a bunch of ways to make people feel and to make people really immersed in the whole zoo and biome different section experience, in which I was going for in the reptile house. So this frontal gardens is inspired by a bunch of images I saw on Pinterest. Like I said in the last video, I don't keep track of any of them, but if I do, I'm gonna put them right now to show you guys some of the stuff I was inspired by. And then so pretty much has this nice rocky, gravelly kind of look to it. And I'm, like I always say in every single video, I'm no plant expert, so this is pretty much to my discretion, and I really like how it came out, because at the end of the day, as you guys will see, I don't really want to spoil too much, but it has this kind of winding kind of look to it. But you'll see that in the rest of the video, and especially when we head to the live portion of the video, you get to see that. So another thing I added is that I added a little like kind of cafe in the reptile house. So because obviously the way the game works is that if people don't really get like vantage points and things to do in the game, they'll probably get tired and say they're going home. And so I just kind of put this down to make people want to stay longer and actually want to visit the reptile house more. And so I put down a cafe. And so it's also to fill the needs of people, like if after they walk the long distance from the entrance, they'll probably be thirsty or very hungry. So I put that down so to fulfill the guest needs and everything once they get to the reptile house. So I pretty much decked out the whole place to look like a nice cafe kind of setting. So the inspiration of the cafe pretty much came from my mind, and so I wasn't really inspired by anything. So it's just pretty much what I've seen outside before. sorry for my voice. It's pretty much what I've seen outside. So pretty much, well, I'm happy with how it came out. So you'll get to see it in the live portion soon. So, well, yeah. Pretty much that's all I have to talk for you guys right now. So I would put a link in the description if you guys like to skip ahead to the live portion of the video, which will be coming up in a short while. And so yeah, if you like to just sit back, relax, you can just enjoy and just sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the time lapse. Okay, so as promised, welcome to the live portion of the video. I'll be gonna be showing you around the interior of the build, in which I didn't really have any time-lapse footage for that because I didn't really want to make the video way too long, so I just skipped ahead so that I can show you guys everything I did. So, well, let's start off with this front gardens over here. So This was mainly inspired by a bunch of images I saw on Pinterest, like a bunch of desert garden images. So I really liked how they used this gravel texture and gravel rocks and everything, and put a bit of plants in the center. And so the way I did it is that it has this nice spiraling pattern over here that wraps around the snake over here that actually makes it look like a bit of a snake and in a nod to the reptile house. And so putting the snake in the middle of it just made it pop out and come out really nicely, and so that was just like the cherry on top of the cake. So much of this is to a lot of my discretion. I don't know if these plants work together. I just put them filtered it off to desert biome and just made it look pretty cool. And also by the way, these plant marker stuff are made up of a bunch of switches and the thin pole we have in the game, so that was a pretty cool stuff feature I had to put in. And I really like how the garden came out. And like I said, I'm kind of set in this hot dry tone, in which you would see why I did that when we enter the reptile house. And so, well, yeah, I would like to give a big shout out to Rycie for her Burling Sands font. Is really awesome. I can't say enough. Her fonts are just the best. You guys should go check her out. So I'll leave a link to her description leave a link to the description of the Burling Sands font in the description below, so you can go check it out. And this is not the only stuff I use from Rycie in this build, so stay tuned to see more of what I use from Rycie. So this whole sign just puts a bunch of art shapes and signs together from the in-game stuff, and I think it came out pretty nicely. So I used the 3 colors from the logo of this Beryl Zoo, which you normally see in the thumbnails. So I used the 3 main colors. So I would like to keep the kind of branding of the zoo. So it's like someone was the security guard was chasing some thieves or something. So anyways, I would like to keep the branding of the zoo pretty much the same throughout the whole park. So this 3 green, orange and black are the main colors of the zoo, so you would see me use them more in the signs in the reptile house when we actually enter inside. So well, yeah, pretty much that's most of it. I'll show more of this in the cinematic shots, but for now, I'm really happy with how it came out. It really set the humid kind of tone. It doesn't look too big, it doesn't look too out of scale, it just looks perfect and nice. So well, yeah, as you can see, more of these desert gardens and everything really made it to more and set more of the tone of the hot humid kind of hot dry kind of temperature and everything. So time for the main event. So let's head on into the reptile house. So as we first enter inside, we would see this to our right. There is a cafe, which would be, I imagine, would be like a quick service cafe that you could just get maybe a donut or coffee, a quick hot cocoa or something. And because this zoo is located in the temperate biome, and so when it snows, maybe guests would just really want to get a hot cocoa or hot coffee or something like that, so they would just head up to the cafe, order it, and then look at the rest of the reptile house. So that's the main idea for this. Shout out to Moblung for his modular escalator set. It's really awesome. I had at first put the old one, but he released out a new one which is more sleek and has way more cleaner curves, and it really worked out well. So it also follows the main path system in the game, because as I heard from him, the path angle slope is not 30 degrees. So that was actually pretty weird, but because normally was that the inspector that just passed by? Whatever. Normally escalators are inclined at 30 degrees, but the ones we have in game are not, so he kind of adjusted the settings to in which it adapts to this. So it's really awesome how that came out. So actually, when you first head on to the zoo, into the reptile house, you would want to, let's head on to the first floor over here. So I wouldn't want to do that right now, but I would like to show you guys a bit of what's on the ground floor. Then we'll head to the first floor. So as you enter and head down here, you would see that this area, like I said previously, I divided this reptile house into different sections like rainforest and desert. And so you can see this area is like for desert animals, like this section over here, desert animals and everything. So that was pretty cool how it came out. So I just put a bunch of all these desert exhibits, which are pretty decent, and try to make them look as different as possible and not like repetitive in way the exhibits are in the game. And so I used the opaque glass pieces to form kind of like a covering on top and below, so that it kind of follows to the scale of the people, because if you actually move it, the glass looks a bit too tall and out of scale for like realistic exhibits, which are not totally like this tall. So I just used that to create like more of a realistic view in it. So mostly what I've been seeing is that the information for animals in the information for the reptile animals are usually placed above. I don't know if it's normal, but most of the pictures I've seen, they put them above the exhibit, so people can look up and see information about the animals. So I just implemented that and flipped the information sign and synced it into a wall, and it came out pretty well. And so you can see the inspiration from the reptile house de Audrey. Sorry if I keep butchering the name. You can see much of the inspiration of these the blacks and the woods and the nice skylight in the center. And so that was pretty much what I used throughout this whole build. And so I really implemented much of its design in this. And so if you head on here, you'd see I put like a bunch of benches so people can actually sit down when they get their hot coffee or their donuts. So they're just sit down and have their refreshment stuff. Did you ever know the coffees have steam? That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool feature of Frontier. That's pretty cool. So I didn't know that. So that actually adds to the realism of the whole thing. So it's pretty cool. So in the actual reptile house de Audrey, they have this nice sitting area in which you'll see and like we have a food or something. And so they have these branches coming from the benches. And so I really thought that was a really cool feature to also add into this. So that was pretty cool. So shout out to Mr. Gomez for his gift shop stuff. So I put them, so if guests would like maybe a Zoom map or anything, they can just grab it out of here, or maybe a gift card or something like that. They will grab it over here, head over to the cash register, and pay for it. And talking about cash register, these are made by Geraldstanuch. You'll see, check the description for a link to it in the Steam description. It's really cool. So I love how he made them look nice and everything. So it's pretty nice. So it really adds to the whole cafe feeling and everything. So by the way, the cafe, like I said, is from my inspiration. I didn't really pin down much of it to anything, so I just coupled up a bunch of stuff and some stuff I've seen and then made it look really nice. And so if anybody of you asks, these mosaic pieces, these tiling pieces, are just a bunch of switches I synced into the walls. So that was pretty cool. And also I really love these nice monkeys over here that just add a nice wacky artsy feel to it. So it's pretty cool. Another shout out to Mr. Moblung for some of his fire signal fire stuff over here. You can see I used these like it's a fire hose kind of thing, and also I used his fire smoke detector, so it was really cool. So that adds to more of the realistic feel. Oh, this place is so crowded. So well, if we head down, you would see in the distance is the rainforest section. And so, but if you head to the left, I used one of the. Another big shout out goes to Moblung for his elevator set. I'll leave a link to a description for his conveyance set, which has the elevators and escalators and what do they call them? Conveyor belt kind of walkway. So that was pretty cool. So I put in his elevators for like people who can't use the escalator and have maybe strollers or wheelchairs. They'll use the escalator to get to the next floor. So this guy's awesome. Shout out to him for his signs and everything. It's really cool. So that's pretty cool. So pretty much this green live wall over here was dragged from the main visitor center, and so I really thought it was really cool, so I just plopped it up over here and it looks pretty nice. So to the left of the elevator you have the toilets for guests if they want to like take a loo or take a piss, so they can go there, like, because it wouldn't make sense if you have a cafe and not have a toilet right next to it. So yeah, shout out to PondShrimp for her map over here. It's supposed to be for like a nature valley kind of thing. It's used in her Yosemite Valley inspired park, but I just put it over here because thought maybe it looks like something that's giving a bit of information about the place. So it's really cool. So if we head on across here, you would see another main educational center for like guests who, so to educate guests more in the animals and everything. I put the climate change down and the amphibians one, and so I really thought that was pretty cool. So if kids would like to also go here, they can go and learn more about stuff. That's why I put it down to their height. So shout out to Bohk for the tropical signs. So I really like these tropical education signs. They're really cool, especially the way he made the vines and everything, and the snake and everything look pretty cool. So that was really awesome. So I'll leave a link to the description as well in the description below, so you can go check it out. So this actually reveals a bit of what I did and a bit of what I covered. So I raised the level of these exhibits to like peep height, because realistically for animals like spiders or beetles, it wouldn't really make sense for you to have the ground on the same ground level, because you won't want guests to bend down low just to get a good view of beetles and spiders. So I raise it up a level so guests can actually stand and look through. Realistically, if it were actual zoo, so guests would actually stand and look through and see the animals and everything. And so this is the rainforest section of the reptile house. So the front is the desert section, and as you head down you'll be entering the rainforest section, which spans from here all the way down. So we'll be checking that out in a moment. So there's the rainforest sign for the area, and so here in this part of the reptile house we have a bunch of rainforest and animals. And so because the game doesn't really have a large variety of exhibit animals like from temperate biomes or different other biomes, so we're stuck with the desert and rainforest animals for now. So if we head on here, we'll head on down, we'll see this nice African mangrove sign by Distortedme. It's a pretty cool sign over here, and I really love how it looks as if it's describing how the African mangrove grows in different parts of Africa and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. So reason why I put this here is that I wanted guests to learn more about the African mangrove, which I actually put in the center of the atrium over here. This is a mangrove tree, so it really makes sense that I educate them on the mangroves, because they actually they actually aid habitats of animals which live in rainforests and stuff, and especially humid and swampy areas. The mangrove trees actually aid animals, so that was a pretty cool feature to put. So okay, I forgot to give a shout out to Rycie for her educative board signs. It's a pretty cool sign. It's a pretty you can use it for like any animal species. So I just switched out the giraffe, which comes with the blueprint, for the spider over here, because we have a spider over here. So maybe guess further on the spider, I just put it down here. So I kind of made this place look like it's a merge habitat with 3 animals, but because of how the game works, we can't have that, so I actually separated the animals, and so it looks pretty much possible, and it looks pretty cool. So that was really awesome. So well, yeah. Wait, did you just walk backwards? That time. Oh well, you can see how I use more of Rycie's educative boards and put down the frog over here. So because there's a frog over here, so I put it down so it really looks cool. So well, yeah. If we head on down here, we would see to our right, we would see the turtle exhibit over here, and it's really cool. So I actually put this down with the old build, so it really fit with the new one. So I just kind of modernized this place a bit and made it look much better. So the turtle is just one because of how the space requirements are in the game. So we only have 1 turtle for now. I'll show more of this whole habitat and everything I just talked about in the cinematics, but for now we have a turtle habitat to the right. And a shout out goes to Jason for his turtle floor morale over here. It's really cool. So I just plopped that down because I thought maybe an artist from somewhere came and decided to fix one of his art pieces and art stuff into the zoo. So I just thought it was a pretty cool feature to add. So to the left, we would be seeing some of my implied exhibits, because realistically, the exhibits we have in the game are not that big. So animals that live in like shoebox size glass pieces. So for maybe, I don't know, just up to guess imagination, I guess. So we have I put down 3 of these implied habitats and put down these information signs, which by the way are also made by Distortedme, and it's pretty cool. So these are actually for the pangolin animal, but I just changed the color of the wooden textures and made it look like maybe it's talking about the scales of snakes or something. So that was pretty cool, because all reptiles have like scales and everything, so it could be any animal. So as you can see, another of his information signs over here is really cool. So if we head on down here to our right, I would like to give a big shout out to FanDanGoal for his turtle information board over here. It's really nice, and also a big shout out to Sui for her fawn over here. So it made it really come out really well. So really happy with how that came out. So by the way, it's a Galapagos tortoise, if you're wondering what kind of tortoise it is. So if we head on down here, this was actually the first place I worked on in the whole... Wait, oh my gosh, floating. Anyways, this is the first place I worked on in the whole reptile house, because this is what actually inspired me to do this kind of modern kind of reptile house in a way. So I'm really happy with how this whole place came out. This is actually this section of the reptile house, this circular section, is inspired by the lair at is it LA Zoo? I'm not sure, but correct me on that if I'm wrong, but it's inspired by the lair at LA Zoo. So the lair has this nice rounded exhibit sections over here. So I really thought it was a cool kind of I forgot what the diorama of reptile habitats over here. So it's pretty cool. So we have our different frogs and lizards and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool. So the reason for all these people floating over here is because like I said, I raised up the exhibits over here so they can be at peep level, so that people don't have to like bend down just to see the animals. So that's the reason. Sadly, the game mechanics don't work with how I did it, so people casually from time to time float, and also workers if they're going there to clean the oh wait, it's raining. I thought I turned it off. Wait a second, just wait a second, guys. Okay, so if we head on here, this would be planned for. I'm actually planning to make like a crocodile kind of, I don't know, crocodile, or either a crocodile or a lemur in indoor habitat. So that's for future episodes. So I've not made that yet, so that's for later. So, well, this skylight over here is inspired by an image I saw on Pinterest. Hopefully I would put that up right now, but if I can't, sorry, but this is a really cool stuff I saw, so it was really awesome. So it really adds to this modern kind of effect over here, so that was nice. So like I said in the Climatron video, I would want the Climatron as you would be in like, you would already be adjusted to like this rainforest already environment. So if you head on, you would just enter the rainforest section of the reptile house, which actually makes sense, rainforest to rainforest. So you're just entering more and see more animals, and then eventually you end up in more desert, in the desert section and everything. So it's kind of a nice, it's kind of like a nice transition between two. So that was pretty nice in the way of linking two buildings. So that was pretty cool. So now that I've shown you guys most of the ground floor, let's head on it to the first floor. Hope I didn't miss anyone over here. Okay, so let's head on. So the guest actually used the escalator over here, but I found out that if you actually look sideways and catch it at the right moment, you can see it looks like the guests are actually coming down an elevator. Well, they're not really, but it just looks in that way. So that was pretty cool. Why is it still raining? Oh, I didn't really turn it off. So okay, so as we head on upstairs, I put this down because, well, reptiles and stuff. So this was a really nice sculpture to put down, wall painting and everything. So I put it down with the animal kind of forest leaves print at the back, which I also put at the side of the escalator, which looks pretty cool. And so yeah, let's head on it to the left, and we would be in the first floor section of the reptile house. It's pretty kind of crowded over here, but we'll get through the people. So as like I said, when I was on the ground floor, this section is divided into two. So if you walk up here, you would see the desert sign, and so this section is for like desert animals and everything. And so this is another great use of Rycie's information board. So you can just place down any animal silhouette, and it looks plausible and looks feasible in a way, and it kind of looks as if it's describing the animal which you're talking about. So well, yeah. One thing I noticed in the reptile house de Audrey, which I keep spoiling the name, they have these miniature, well, not miniature, these smaller exhibits which are maybe for like snakes or lizards or stuff like that. So I just made my own version of the habitats. It's not really occupied by any animal right now. I just made it by a bunch of glass pieces and a bunch of woods, and it pretty much came out pretty well. It came out well. And so sadly the game mechanics don't allow for like smaller exhibits for now, but for now just gonna be like implied habitats and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. So well, my pet peeve right now is, I mentioned it on the Bro Nation server, but my pet peeve is why can't Frontier give us the I wish Frontier could give us the ability to turn off curbs on elevated paths, because it's really kind of breaking the illusion of it being just like a first floor and everything. So the fact that these poking out curves over here break the illusion is kind of odd. And I know what you say, maybe you should sink them in a bit into the ground, but then if you do that, the guest's legs actually sink into the ground, and that doesn't really give a nice effect. So I just kind of left it the way it is, and we just have to live with it for now. So well, if you head here, you'll see there's these desert animals, And then if you head here, you'll see the rainforest animals with the implied rainforest habitats over here. So that was pretty cool. So well yeah. Well, this ceiling, these industrial kind of ceiling look was ripped off of the Reptile house de Audrey. They have this nice ceiling industrial look. So I'd imagine maybe this whole Reptile house, before it was the zoo was converted to an actual zoo, it was a gardens before. Maybe it used to be like a warehouse or a greenhouse in which they put in plants, and so this was like the main structure of the whole place before. But then when they converted it to a reptile house, they still left the trusses and everything, and it gave this nice industrial look to the whole feeling and the modern look and everything. So it's pretty cool. These modern bowl lights over here are made from those African semicircle decorations, in which I just flip them upside down and then put a area light under it, and it came out. It looks how it's supposed to. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it looks plausible and it looks how it's supposed to. So I'm really happy with how it came out. So, well, yeah, I think that's pretty much what we have. That's all I have for you guys today. So, well, yeah. If you like what you're seeing, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not, and when you subscribe, be sure to hit that notification bell so you can get notified whenever I post anything new on my channel. And so yeah, well, see you next time, guys. Until then, bye for now, and be sure to stay tuned for the cinematics, which are coming up soon. See you later, guys, and bye for now.